Hello, this is Kajukenbo Live. I'm Senior Grandmaster Jimenez, coming out of South Lake Tahoe, California. Today, we have Chapter 5 of my story, Like It or Not. It's the fire and the murder. It's kind of a touchy chapter because there's a lot of ugly things in this that happened at this point in time. Well, it was 1992. We were building up a studio in Carson City, Nevada. And we were working on that building, and it was on a Friday. I brought my dad and my grandfather. We drove the truck up from the Bay Area to my house in Lake Tahoe, and to show my dad and my grandpa the building we're building. So we drove into Carson City, and I showed them the building, and they liked it. And we had dinner and stuff like that. And it was probably about 11 o'clock at night. I just got in bed, and I was laying there, and the phone rings. And it's my mom. And she said, "Oh, Tony," she goes, "your studio's on fire." And of course, my stomach just got sick to my stomach. I go, "What do you mean it's on fire?" "I mean, there's like a small fire." She's all, "No, it's burning to the ground." Well, I was like in distraught, and I go, "You're kidding." She's all, "Nope." So my mind just started thinking of these, the people that I had before. I had like the stalker and stuff. I'm thinking, that's what happened or whatever. So I woke up my dad and my grandfather, and I told them the studio was burning. And I told them to just come in the morning. I was going to leave right then, because I had my Rolls Royce in the garage up in my house in Tahoe. And if anybody knows how a Rolls Royce is, it's a big car. And what I'm getting at this point is I made it from South Lake Tahoe to San Leandro in 2 hours and 50 minutes in that big car. And this is, late. By the time I left Lake Tahoe, it was already late. So about close to 3 o'clock in the morning, I hit 150th Avenue. I remember getting up the freeway, and on my building, one side of the building was a brick wall, and the rest was wood, and wood on the stucco on the sides. All I remember is looking down the street. I come off the exit, and I see all the fire department and all the police was there. Sheriff, San Leandro, it was just everybody was there. And just remember, this was 3 o'clock in the morning, and I had several people on the sidewalk. My mom was there, and some of my students. So I remember just crossing the street, both ends of the street, because it was already blocked off as it was. And the cop lady tells me, she says, you can't park there. I said, no. I go, it's my studio. So, I'm looking at the building, and of course, all the front windows are all busted out. And I had a small refrigerator in my office. And like I said before, I used to go to Las Vegas a lot, and I will get to that chapter soon, next one actually. And I had about a dozen bottles of Dom Perignon champagne that was in that refrigerator. And of course, the fire department threw the refrigerator, under the sidewalk, and these bottles were all over the sidewalk. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And so I remember the fire chief came up to me and said, "You own this building?" And I went, "Yes, I do." And he goes, "Let me ask you a question." I said, "Okay." He goes, "Did you have a cash box in your office?" And I'm thinking, what kind of question is that, right? So I said, "Yeah, I had a cash box in there." "Well, how much was in there?" I go, "I don't know, $20 and change, dollars, a couple dollars and change." "Let me ask you again, did you have a cash box in your office?" And I kind of went, I'm already pissed as it was, and I'm like, "How do you answer that?" "I told you yes." He's all, "Okay, that's all I need to know." And so he leaves, and I'm thinking, so my mind's thinking who did this, and my thoughts were on certain people. And then one of the cops came out, and he said to me, "Hey, did you know you were missing a sink in your bathroom?" Instantly, I knew who did it. Because one of my students, his dad was remodeling his house, and I was remodeling my bathroom, and I took his new sink, and I was going to pick one up in Carson City because they were cheaper up there, and I was going to bring him back. So they had gone in there and stole my sink, and then I found out later that they lit the studio on fire. And the sad part was, he was one of my students, and that let this guy in. And the guy that burned my studio down wasn't my student. His last name was Hodges. And I didn't know this guy. And one of my students, Tim Wright, he let the guy live and his family at his dad's house in San Leandro. And the guy would be smart ass on the phone if I called or whatever. And I couldn't figure out, why would this guy be such an asshole? So come to find out, when I went to Lake Tahoe, Tim, Hodges, and this other guy named Dave, he was the rat of the bunch. They put the little skinny rat through my bathroom window because it didn't lock, and he went and opened the front door. And they stole stupid stuff, CDs, a CD player, the $20 in cash that was in my office, just stupid stuff. And but I had a gun in my desk, and Tim knew I had a gun in my desk. Well, he told Hodges wanted that gun. So he went back, they broke back into my studio, and they went and took the gun out of my office. So then they decided to go up to the gas station, the Shell station on the corner. And Hodges got like a Slurpee cup, or whatever they call them, big cups, full of gasoline, came into my studio, threw it all over the my office in the front and out the door, and lit it on fire. Now, Tim Wright and that Dave guy didn't light my studio on fire, but they let him in, and they sat in the car because I guess they were drunk and they were high, and supposedly they didn't know he was going to do that. So it wasn't really them that set the place on fire. It was Hodges that did it, but they were still involved in it. So I knew this, and I told the cops, I know who it is, da-da-da-da-da. Long story short, probably about 3 weeks later, Tim Wright and Hodges tried burning down his own dad's house for the insurance money. Well, they didn't know that the dad had canceled the insurance, so they had no insurance on the house, so they burned his house down for nothing. So by doing so, it didn't really burn, just part of it burned, but it gave the police an opportunity to go into their house. So they went to their house, they found some of my stuff that was stolen. So I remember the police officer called me up and he saw Mr. Jimenez, he's come up to the police department, the sheriff's department. And so I went up there and he goes, "This looks familiar?" And there's my CDs, my CD player, and this stupid sign that said karate that they had stole. I go, "That's it." And they go, "Well, we didn't want to say anything to you, but we arrested all three of them the night before at the Islander Hotel in San Leandro." I go, "Okay, that's great. At least you got them and stuff." And the hard part was, like I said, when I came back in the morning of the fire, the next morning, I went back out there at 8 o'clock, and all the students came, and the whole place was completely gutted. The smoke was still coming out, smelling and stuff, water all over. And it literally lost everything I had in that building. All my magazine covers, I had about 1,000 trophies wrapped around the whole building. Everyone burned. I had a whole gym in there. The metal didn't burn, but all the upholstery burned. And I had like a 300-gallon fish tank with these big giant goldfish. The big heads on them and stuff. That was just completely leveled. And that's what kind of was on my mind. It's kind of funny because I was driving back from Tahoe to there. I was thinking about my fish because I remember I used to feed them. They always come into the tank. Well, I fed them, and everything was gone. I mean, it was already been there, over a decade. So I was like distraught. And I remember Dolores Juarez came and visited me and gave me her condolences, on the studio and stuff. And anyway, I had the Greenspan company pulled up, and I had them handle everything. And I rented a building about a week later, a shopping center around the corner. It was expensive. I didn't care what it cost. I just wrote them a check for a year. But we were only there 6 months. Because in that 6 months, I built the studio back, of course. We owned the building. Plus, we added another 30 feet in the back. But the thing is, I lost all my awards, everything I had, I lost. All the memories lost, that was in that building. And that's what hurt the most. I don't care how much money that they gave. I would rather have all my stuff back than the money. The money meant really nothing. It really literally meant nothing, And I got it, the building built back better and nice. And but I still went through the pain and the suffering of losing, a lifetime of martial arts stuff in there. So it wasn't very easy, to go through that. And I couldn't figure out why, because I was really good to this student. I took him in when he was younger. He didn't have really a mom. He said his dad, and there's a lot of problems and stuff. I did catch him with another boy. I did catch him that, and that kind of started it because I caught him, fooling around, and I think that's what kind of like, started the whole animosity because he knew I knew, which I really didn't give a shit. I really didn't care what he did, but I think that was part of it because he knew I knew. But I went to court and they gave Hodges, the one that burnt my studio down, they gave him 6 months in jail. Tim, which didn't burn my studio down, but he let him in, they gave him a year in a children's facility or a teenage facility because he was under 18. A whole year until he turned 18. And then David, he was the rat. He ratted on both of them. He got 3 days in jail. And I didn't even know who Hodges or David was. I'd never seen David either. But I remember I went to court, and the judge let me say something. And he's sitting there with his little yellow outfit on, and his wife was in the audience with his 2 little kids. And I spoke to the judge, and I said, look, I can't get my stuff back. But I turned to him and I looked at him and I told him, but one day, I'll get you for what you did to me. So he just looked at me kind of like a bewildered look, like, whatever, I'm like, okay. So he went to jail, Tim went to jail, studio got back together and stuff like that. And then I wind up letting Tim Wright come back after he got out of jail. Even though he was part of that, I still felt in my heart, that Hodges just, manipulated him in the wrong way with the alcohol and the drugs. And I thought I'd give him a second chance. And that's why I let him back. And believe it or not, I did lose some students because of it, because they felt that they burnt my studio down, and that why should we give him the opportunity to come back. So we did. I let him come back, and he stayed for, he was there for a while. And then this is how the murder comes in. So after class one day, he came into class and he told me that he needed to talk to me. So we sat in my office, and he was upset and crying and stuff. And he told me, he said, yeah, tell me something. He's going to tell me something that's really bad. So I said to myself, okay, well, just tell me. Oh, but you can't say anything, please, Sifu. He goes, this and this. I said, just tell me. Well, a little old lady that lived next to his dad's house, Hodges went in there and stole the little old lady's checkbook. Hodges gives the checks to his niece, which was 19 years old, little skinny girl, to go cash these checks. Well, this is so sick. Their plan was that he panicked and thought she was going to tell the police. So him, Hodges, Tim, and his little gay friend Kenny, they went down to Niles Canyon, and they were going to murder her over stupid checks. It was ridiculous. And they wanted Tim to do it, and Tim couldn't do it. He said, no, I'm not going to do that. And they threatened to kill his dad and stuff, and just being a real jerk about it. So he was there, and supposedly Kenny Kenny, the little gay kid, was spinning her around, and Hodges hit her in the head with a pipe, and then he stabbed his niece 19 times. And Tim ran like a chicken shit. He took off running to the car when it happened. And Hodges and Kenny killed the little girl, his own niece. And so when I found this out, I had told Tim, I said, "You touched this girl?" And he said, "No, I didn't touch this girl." He goes, "I ran." He goes, "Because I can't stand the sight of blood," which is true. So I said, "Okay, we're going to call the police right now," because Lieutenant Tucker was one of my students. And he goes, "No, no, no." I said, "No, we need to call the police." So we did. We called the police, and I called Ray Tucker, and this is like about 10 o'clock at night. He goes, "I'm meeting the sheriff's department." So they were up there, and I couldn't go in, and they took Tim in there, and we were in there until like 4 o'clock in the morning. And then probably about 2 weeks later, they arrested Hodges for the murder of his niece. And I felt that his wife should have been arrested too, because his wife got pissed off because Hodges used her good kitchen knife to kill this little girl. And I remember going to court on that thing, and I remember telling him, I said, "I told you I'd get you back for what you did. Now you're going to go to jail for life." And he was so ignorant, idiot. He's like, "Oh, what's he mad about?" And I'm just like, this is ridiculous. So he's in jail for life right now, and Kenny was 15, and I think they put him in a juvenile detention home until he was 25, 28 years old, whatever. I have no idea what they let him in. But we gave the parents a peace of mind, knowing that, because Hodges told the daughter's dad that she had gone to Reno and split. So at least the parents had the closure of knowing that the daughter, was murdered, and the assailant got put in jail. So it was a one ball of wax, and then it was just a sad whole year on that thing that had happened that day. And then with the rat, David, I never seen this guy before, but he was dating one of my black belt sister, and one of my black belts, Grandmaster Bacher. I was in Hayward buying a van, and I seen this guy going back and forth, and he had like a black derby jacket on. I said Marlboro, like a loser, cross up here, and I thought, "Well, that guy." So then Gilbert saw, "You don't know who that is?" And I went, "No, I don't know who that is." He goes, "That's David. He's the one that ratted on Kim and Hodges, and they wouldn't do your building, open the door." So I was like, "Oh, okay." So I walked over to him. Of course, I'm not smart enough not to hit him. So then I asked him, I said, "Dude, I go, you like playing with matches?" And David looked at me like, "Who's this guy?" And he's like, "What are you talking about, dude?" I go, "I'm going to ask you a question. You like playing with matches?" And he's all, "No." I go, "You like burning things down like Karate Studios?" All of a sudden he went, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And he got on his knees and began to beg. I mean, literally on his knees begging. And I told him, "Oh, get up. Just get off your knees." So he got up, and he's like, "I'm so sorry." He goes, "But if it wasn't for me, they wouldn't have got arrested." I said, "No, you rat, you saved your ass. And you spent 3 days in jail for letting that piece of shit in my studio and letting it burn down." So I just told him to get away from me. I just said, "Just get away from me." And so he walked away, and cause I didn't want to hit him. I didn't want to go to jail. It wasn't worth hitting him, but, I gave him the fear of knowing what he did, So you see, this whole martial arts studio and stuff like that, we had more than just the kicking and the punching in there. Stuff like that happened, and losing my studio, I never felt so much pain. But I couldn't imagine the pain that the 19-year-old girl's parents felt. Or the 19-year-old girl that thought they were going down there to smoke weed or whatever, and then not knowing that they were going to murder her. And like the police officer told me, he said they can't believe he stabbed her 19 times over some checks that he probably just got a slap in the hand for anyway of doing the checks. So it's very, very sad that something like that happens. But I guess, it worked out in the long run that her murderer was captured. So, and then like I said, with Tim Wright, we gave him a second chance to redeem himself about the studio. And, that's how that went. So I hope you enjoyed these two stories on chapter 5. My next chapter will be about my Las Vegas days. And it's kind of fun, interesting, and a lot of good stuff in there. And again, if you have any questions or whatever, feel free to email me at wwka@aol.com, or just message me on Facebook or on the YouTube channel. There's a little thing, on the bottom. You can type in a question or give your thought on anything, and then just give me your feedback. If you want to hear something, else, because there's so much more, but this videos would be hours and hours long, and I don't want to do that to you guys. So I'm trying to touch the bigger parts of it. But again, I appreciate it. If you go to our YouTube channel and see this, make sure you hit subscribe or have your friends hit subscribe so we can build our number up. And again, I'm Senior Grandmaster Jimenez. This is Kajukenbo Live from South Lake Tahoe. I'll be talking to you soon. Thank you.